Bonjour, fifth graders, Miss Boughton here with a lesson on how to summarize. So throughout the year, we have worked on summaries and mainly focused on main ideas. They are two different things, but use some of the same information. So when we've focused on main ideas, we were looking for one, maybe two sentences that got the general message that the author wanted you to have about a section or a paragraph. And then in an entire text, there could be more than one main idea and multiple sets of key details. But a summary is a little bit different. What is a summary? It is a condensed or short retelling of a text. So it can be a story, it could be a picture book, it could be a chapter book, it could be from one chapter. You could even summarize a movie or a TV show. The summary is just going to tell you what all the important or key pieces are in that text or in that movie or in that show. You could even do a summary for a video game. So we are going to focus on how to summarize a text. So again, it's a condensed or short retelling of a text. There are some do's and don'ts to writing a summary. Let's take a look at some of those. So first of all, our do's. What you do want to do is use your own words. You don't want to take what the author wrote in the text word for word and copy that down in your summary. That is not what a summary is. A summary is your own words retelling what happened in the story. You also want to keep it short. It's longer than a main idea, but it's still not going to be pages and pages long. You want it to be about 3 to 5 sentences. The length of your summary is going to be based off of the length of the chapter or the text or the book that you're reading. So 3 to 5 sentences should be enough to cover everything. What is in that summary is going to be a retelling of only the important events. Oftentimes there's lots of details and things happening in a text or in a story, but we only want to focus on the important ones. And we will do a lesson on how to pick out what the important parts of a story are, what are the important details, what are the important main ideas that we want to include in a summary. That being said, we also want to make sure that we're including the main ideas and the key details. As I mentioned before, when we were looking to find the main idea of a text, it could also be from just a paragraph or a section. So a text could have more than one main idea. The summary is the place to write all of those main ideas and as many key details as possible, instead of just focusing on one or a few. Okay, so you're going to want to try and put as many of those important things in there, but not too long because we still want to keep it to 3 to 5 sentences. Okay. So now that we know what to do, here are some things that we don't want to do or we would like to try to avoid. We do not, again, want to copy from the text. Don't write what the author has written. Use your own words to retell the story. You don't want to write too little. You don't want to write as little as a main idea sentence, but you don't want to write as much as a full-blown page or multiple paragraphs. Keep it to the 3 to 5 sentences. And one thing that's very important to do is not to add your own thoughts and feelings. In a summary, we're not looking for how you feel about the text or how you feel about the characters or what you do and don't like about it. Stick to what is in the story or the text, just the main ideas and the key details from the text. Okay? So now that you know what you need to do and what you should avoid, there's 2 specific ways that we can use when reading a text to figure out what things we should include in our summary. The first is something that we've done before in class together, and that's the 5 W's. Who, what, when, where, why. Say it with me. Who, what, when, where, why. The second way is somebody wanted, but, so, then. Say that with me. Somebody wanted, but, so, then. These two methods can be used when reading a text to pick out what the important pieces are to include in a summary. So we are going to use these two methods as tools when writing our summaries. So let's go ahead and summarize Chapter 3 of When a Ghost Talks, Listen from today's Read Aloud. So if you have not listened to that, if you have not answered that Google form, stop. Do not go any further in this video. Go back, do read aloud for Chapter 3, then come back and see how I summarize that chapter. Okay? So, if you have already listened to Chapter 3, go ahead and continue watching. If you have not, go back and do that first. I'm going to give you a minute to decide what you need to do. Okay, great. So if you've done read aloud, keep going with me. We are going to focus on the 5 W's method today. So the 5 W's again are who, what, when, where, and why. So we're going to use these 5 W's to help us answer or collect information from the text in order to write a summary. So the first W is who. So who is it about? Who are the characters? Who are the people? Maybe it's an animal, maybe it's whatever the case is, but who are we focusing on? And in this chapter, our focus has been on Isaac and Pushmataha. We were introduced to General Andrew Jackson, but the main characters and who we're focusing on is Isaac and Pushmataha. Now, the next piece is the what. So what did they do? What did they want? What is happening? We need to pull out those details from the text as well. If I had to answer that question based on Chapter 3, I would say that the what is they traveled into the past to see Pushmataha's funeral. So what they did was they traveled into the past so that they could see Pushmataha's funeral. The when. This one is going to be a little bit more tricky because they didn't really tell us when this was happening. In the previous chapter, Chapter 1, we learned that it was in 1830 that they were then in the present time. But because we know that they traveled into the past, we don't know when in the past it happened. So was it in 1820? Was it in 1810? Was it in 1800? We don't know when specifically they traveled to or when his funeral occurred. So we could say when again is the past. I'm going to choose to leave that blank because I don't think that we received enough information on the when. Now, if we talk about the where is definitely the past. You could even include the fact that the pastor or person giving the funeral talk mentioned the fact that they were at the U.S. Congressional Cemetery. It doesn't tell us what city or state that it occurred in, but we know that it was in the past because they traveled to the past, and we know that it was in this U.S. Congressional Cemetery because the text gave us that piece of information. Now the why. This is also kind of tricky because the text doesn't outright say the reason why they traveled to the past or why they're at his funeral. But it did give us a little bit of an answer, and the why was for Isaac to learn from the past. So General Pushmataha wanted Isaac to learn a lesson or some lessons from the past, but it doesn't tell us specifically what those lessons are at this time. We just know the reason why they went back was for Isaac to learn from the past. So as hard of a chapter as that is, imagining yourself watching your own funeral and having to see that for both Isaac and Pushmataha, how hard that might have been, we know that there was a reason behind it. It just doesn't explicitly tell us what that reason is. So again, the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. So the who are we talking about? We're talking about Isaac and Pushmataha. What happened? What went on? What did they want? In this case, they traveled into the past to see Pushmataha's funeral. When, so when did it happen? When did it occur? We don't know. We were not given that information in the text or in this chapter. And then the where. So where did it happen? Where were they? They were in the past. It was at the U.S. Congressional Cemetery. And why? So why were they there? Why did they feel that way? Why did they go through all of this? Is for Isaac to learn from the past. So for my summary, I'm going to take all of these pieces of information and I'm going to put them into 3 sentences. So I'm not going to say all of this exactly word for word, but I'm going to do my best to put it all into 3 sentences that basically says all of this, okay? So, for my first sentence, I say General Pushmataha and Isaac travel into the past. So right there, I've talked about the who, I've talked about the fact that they're traveling into the past, so the where, and even a little bit of the what. The next sentence I would write then would be, they go back to watch the funeral of Pushmataha. So again, I'm wrapping the what into it. So now I have the who, the what, and the where. The next thing I need to include is the why, okay? So I have who, General Pushmataha and Isaac travel into the past. I know where they are, I know who they are, and I know what they're doing. The last sentence is going to be Pushmataha brings him there to learn from the past. So there I've now wrapped in my why. So I've taken these 4 pieces of information and turned it into 3 sentences for a summary. So if I read that all together, it says, General Pushmataha and Isaac travel into the past. They go back to watch the funeral of Pushmataha. Pushmataha brings him there to learn from the past. Now, maybe you would have included Andrew Jackson in your summary, maybe not. Maybe you would have put it in a different way, but the most important thing here is that we covered the who, what, when, where, and why to the best of our ability, and then we put it in that order. This is how you would write a summary using the 5 W's. I hope you guys learned something today, and we will continue to practice this as you are reading and summarizing more texts during this unit. Thanks for watching.